My name is Ray. We haven't met before, but I've watched your videos for a long time. I really appreciate your work.
Oh, great. Hi, Ray. Glad to meet you. I didn't know if anyone would know anyone in this group or not. So,
Hello?
Hello.
Hello. How are you? Hello, Frederick. Hello, Brian. Hello, Ray.
hello. Thanks for having us.
Hello,
Happy to
everyone.
be here.
Thank you so much to be here. My goal with you to this live is to speak about the traditional smoker and some evolution. As you know, in beekeeping, we have some evolution. For example, feeding. We have sugar. We have some technique for feeding bees, some knowledge, party pollen, equipment. We have some evolution for treatment for help bees. Breeding. We have some evolution breeding, extraction, and hives. But here in beekeeping has evolved in every way, excepted for the smoker. As you know, the traditional smoker was being invented in 1873. And the traditional smoker is made in USA, is invented by Moss Queen Bee. It no few upgrades, but not a major change in operating mode. I want to speak with you about your experience with the traditional smoker. If you're okay, in first, when we go to the hives, we lightning the bee smokers. What is your experience, for example, Ray, Frederick, Brian, with lightning bee smokers?
Okay, well, I'll go first. My experience is consistently frustrating. No matter how many hundreds of times I've lit a smoker since I was a kid, keeping the smoker going is always so frustrating. Once you get it going, then sometimes you're done with your beekeeping and then you can't get it put out. So it's always a frustrating experience. And while I've probably gotten better at it over the years, getting it lit has always been, is probably the biggest frustration. And then the amount of time that it takes to really get it going well so that you can really have it for an hour or two when you're working your hives. That's my experience.
I can say from my experience that I overlight it. So I haven't had that problem. I use a blowtorch and get it going, and then it stays going. But I'm not using it all day. We shifted smoker fuel. So now we're using switchgrass pellets, and we can get a 12-hour burn out of it on a single load. We've fooled around with a lot of different smoker fuels, so that also has an impact on how easy it is to get it lit. And before we did the switchgrass pellets, we were cutting chunks of grass from the underside of the mower decks because it was really dense, almost like cattle cud. It was really dense, and we would dry that out for about 5 months, and then that would be a long-term smoker fuel, but that was before Ernst Seeds started giving us these pellets. So, but lighting it, you're not going to pick up a match and just light it and go have a good day. You have to have a propane torch to get it started. So that's been my experience. And once it started, much like Ray said, it's still burning. If you forget about it, it's out there burning at 2 in the morning. And hopefully you didn't put it in your garage. You left it outside somewhere.
Yeah, my experience lighting a smoker is a skill that as a new beekeeper, it's frustrating because you're handed this piece of equipment and everybody just assumes that you know how to light the smoker, but it does take some time. You have to learn how to properly light it because I am guilty of I light the smoker and I would go out and I would be going through my inspections in my colonies and set it down for 2 or 3 minutes. I wasn't actively puffing the smoker, and I would go on to the next colony and it was not lit. So I'd have to take it all apart and dump out some of the fuel that I was using and relight the smoker. So it was frustrating. Over time, I did learn how to light it, and I think I was similar, more like Fred. I have a propane torch. For fuel for mine, I use wood chips. So I buy, I found that, and at my scale, it works. I found that I would buy like the wood chips that they used for like hamsters or small, like, pets. And it comes, very compact. So the one bag that I would buy would typically last a whole season. So I learned how to load my smoker. I would light with the propane torch and then just fill the rest of it. But it was, your where time is always valuable, I would spend the very first, say, 10 to 15 minutes of my time where I could be inspecting colonies. It was getting my smoker lit so that it would stay lit. So some frustrations, but over time I learned how to adapt and properly light the smoker.
Brian, you're talking about the pine shavings, right? The bedding?
Yep, yep,
So that's kiln dried pine shavings beddings. Yeah.
yep,
And I've used that too. That stuff burns hot, by the way. That's another
yeah,
thing. Yep.
yeah,
We use
yeah.
a lot of pine needles in our area because we have such an abundance of them here in South Carolina. And so, yeah, I carry a blowtorch. I carry one of those little butane torches and pine needles to, for a quick light. But it is, one of the things that constantly go back to is kind of what Brian mentioned. When you only have to do something briefly in a hive and the hive is kind of agitated or a more aggressive or mean hive, and so you need some smoke, but you don't want to go through the hassle of lighting the smoker and taking 10 minutes to get it going really good when you really only need to do 5 minutes of work inside of the hive. And so sometimes, unless you've got it all planned out, it just doesn't seem worth it. And so what I find I do is I just don't worry about it and just let the bees, since it's such a quick thing, just let the bees go crazy for a few minutes and get out of there.
Yes. Now, have you ever feel some effect on your health for headache or problem for your lungs when you use a smoke? No?
Me myself, no, I never have. I tend to very early on in my beekeeping kind of journey, I learned where to place the smoker. So, yes, I did have those instances where you're working a colony, and of course, it's just, they always say smoke follows beauty. So I always took it that, the smoke was following me for a reason. But I learned very early on where to place it. So, just to stay out of that smoke, because it is, inhaling the smoke from a smoker, it's not pleasant. I can say it's not a pleasant experience.
Sometimes when I go to make beekeeping, visit the hives, my wife say you smell like smoke. For me, it's a problem for my wife, and it's a problem for you. For if you lining your smoker, you visit 3 hives and you smell smoke all the day, or it's not a problem.
No, I mean, it's just like if you're at a campfire, you're going to smell like a campfire. I think the smoke gets into everything. And as I mentioned before, if you have to put it in your van or in your truck or whatever when you go home, even though you plugged it and capped it, or you might have emptied it before you came back, that smell permeates, the space that you're in. And you know that if you've worked your bees and put your smoker away, the whole space that you put it in is going to smell like that. So there's particles. So back to Brian, whether you're coughing or not, if you're doing a lot of inspection with your smoker, you're occupationally exposed to smoke. So there is an impact on your lungs that people can have a nice breezy day and keep your smoker downwind. Most beekeepers smoke themselves when they get to the hives. They puff themselves, they puff their veil, they puff their outfit to again calm bees when they come to them. And there's a very famous beekeeper here in the United States, Texas Bee Works. Her name's Erica Thompson. And I was just down in her neck of the woods. She smokes herself for 5 minutes because she doesn't wear bee protection. So before she even walks out to deal with the hives, this is all off camera, but there are people occupationally exposing themselves to smoke, and in the long run, it's not healthy at all. So aside from coughing or having a reaction right there, anytime you're burning something, the combustion products are always not healthy.
In your experience of beekeeper, fire hazards, it's a problem or not for you?
The risk of fire.
Yes.
Well, there are entire regions that have, this year in particular, because we had drought conditions, there were no fires allowed, but they talk about open fires. But there have been beekeepers in our area that think their smokers out They do two things that puts them at risk. One, the beekeeper finishes in the bee yard, dumps out the contents of their smoker, and then loads an empty smoker in their vehicle, and off they go. Then the wind picks up, and those embers get going and start a fire. So fire management is really important, but we've had fires have been not allowed. So we've been in a red zone for fires at the latter part of this year. So you couldn't have an open fire anywhere. So beekeepers were definitely looking for alternatives to lighting smokers. There was another woman that put her smoker, she thought it was out, kept the fuel, put it in a box in the back of her pickup, and lit her whole collection of beehives on fire in the back of her truck on her way home. And she saw it
Yes.
on the highway
Yes.
and had to pull over. So, I mean, handling fire is an important thing. I'm a retired fire marshal, along with many other things. So, hot work and exposure to ignition is a big concern. So, for me, I think about it all the time, but a lot of beekeepers seem very comfortable with that unplanned reignition of their smoker fuel. So, yeah, we've had definite areas where we would not want people to be lighting smokers or dumping out embers at their apiary site.
And for you, Ray, fire risk and your technique for turn off the smoker.
So I use a metal box, a metal smoker box. And so when I'm done, I put my smoker in the box and close it off. It restricts the airflow, the oxygen inside of the box, as well as creates a safe environment where I can leave it without at risk of it catching something else on fire. So that makes me feel a lot comfortable. I have to admit that before I had the metal smoker box, I would put my smoker, on a concrete pad behind my shop to let it go out. And, late at night, I'd start thinking about it and wonder, did it go out all the way? Did a deer knock it over? Whatever. And I'd run out and check on it. So I just got tired of worrying about it. And so I use a metal smoker box to keep that risk low.
Okay. And you, Brian, have you ever had an incident with a bee smoker or no?
Yeah, I'm similar like Ray. When I did use a traditional smoker, I had a cement block and it was right next to my building, and I would typically grab something that I can plug the spout of the smoker with, and I would just pack it. That way it would restrict that airflow, and I would just set it on that cement block. And it was right next to my building. There was a little bit of an overhang, so it would protect it against rain and things like that. But that was always a challenge when I would finish my inspections. It's like, well, now I have to worry about the smoker. So that's just the method that I came up with when I did use a traditional smoker. But then, like Ray said too, well, would the smoker get knocked over or anything like that? So it was always a concern afterwards. And I'm in somewhat of a similar region where Fred is at, and in the area of Ohio where I'm located at, we had um, some pretty good drought conditions this year, and you know, they had fire restrictions, they had fire bans pretty much all over the area. So it was a concern.
Thank you. Fabrice is, I don't have present Fabrice. Fabrice is a partner specialist. Okay. He worked with me
Hello, everyone.
in Apisolis company. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today. So I'm listening to you to you all. I'm also located in France, working with Damien. I'm taking care of all the partners in the US. I'll be as well at the NHB this year. So I'm looking forward to meeting you all. So I'm actually writing down all the comments that you guys are like saying, and I find very interesting. And Fred also, I know I'm following also Erica, and I was like always asking myself like what kind of tricks she's using to not wear any suit to protect herself. It's quite amazing. And I've seen that also more and more people are actually doing it. But well, thank you, and then I will jump into the conference if I have some questions or or anything.
Thank you, Fabrice. Now, thank you for your feedback. Now, what does science say about the bee smoker? What is this picture? This picture show an analysis made with a chromatographic. It's an analysis of a traditional bee smoker. Exactly, an analysis of a smoke. And this graphic show all molecule we can find in traditional smoke when we do an analysis. This result show 27 toxic elements. 27 toxic elements. It's very important to understand. When we put some materials in a traditional smoker, grass, wood, it's okay, it's safe materials. But the smoke, it's the results of chemical reaction. How we do the chemical reaction? We do the chemical reaction because we burn the materials in the smoker and we produce a smoke. It's a result of chemical reaction. We destroy integrality all components for make another components, and they are not safe for beekeepers and bees. Maybe you have any question of this point? It's okay for you? It's a new information, or you're thinking, yes, I know that.
Is that a question? Are you asking us?
Yes, it is. This is a question from Damien asking like if you guys were aware of all these dangerous compounds inside of the when we do when we do any combustion, it could be like a fire in your house or whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it goes into a bee smoker. Well, of course, you get all these compounds that they're just burning out, and then while we do breathe it, and as well for the bees. The question of Damien is like, were you aware of all these molecules that were coming out?
Yes, absolutely. That's why we de-smoke spaces and do gas re-engineering checks to see if the air is suitable for people after you've had combustion in a space. So it's the same, it's all coming out of the smoker. The difference is it's going out in the atmosphere rather than in a confined space, but there's no question that they're detrimental.
Yeah, that's good.
I think some of the, I'm not really familiar with the 27 dangerous molecules myself. I'm not a scientist, but I did grow up in a very old colonial house in New England, and we just heated the house simply by smoke. I mean, by fire. And the chimney, I said smoke. I don't know why. Got smoke on my brain now. The chimney was 250 years old or something, and you could see right through it anywhere you wanted. So I guess that doesn't really bother me because I think I grew up inhaling smoke all the time between keeping all the fireplaces going and just the minimal smoke that would get inside of the house. And so I don't know. I guess I don't really see it as much of a concern, like Frederick said, because it goes into the environment predominantly. I don't breathe it in. I think if I was smoking cigarettes, that would be a bigger problem. But I could see that it is a potential problem, but I'm just not aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, like Ray. I mean, I don't have that much of a science background. I worked in the medical field for some years, so just as far as my knowledge, I knew that it was bad for you. I wasn't aware that there were 27 dangerous molecules, so that's new information for me.
It's normal for some people. Wood or grass, it's safe materials, and the smoke it's safe, but the material is safe, the smoke it's safe. It's not correct. You destroy and you make an incomplete combustion. The reaction. It's an incomplete combustion, and the smoke contains a waste of the combustion, and this particle is not good for health. Maybe you have tested some alternative to the bee smoker. You have already tested alternative to the smoker. I want to talk about alternative with you. Ray, have you tested? alternative?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got my smoker here. This is
And,
the
and
only alternative.
a part of this one.
This is the only alternative that I have ever used before. But that's all I've ever tried other than a traditional smoker.
Okay. Spray, for example, spray water with sugar on
Mhm.
bees. You have already
yeah.
tested that?
Yeah, I have done that, but I didn't really achieve what I had expected it to achieve. And you have to do it just right. If you put too much on the bees, it can really become a problem for them. And if you put too little on them, it doesn't have any effect. I never was able to get that to where it would really help, especially with a more aggressive hive.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
you, Marianne?
personally,
Yes.
personally myself, I never have tried any of those alternatives. I just always have used a traditional smoker. The only alternative I'll say that I have used is this right here.
Okay.
So, and you can tell, I mean, I have used it. It's got the wear and tear on it from many inspections. I have used this. So,
Good. And you,
Well,
Frederick? Yes.
yeah, it's actually an area that we've done a lot of testing on. So we've done everything from sprinkling in with fresh water to get the guard bees to back down. We've done the testing with light sugar syrup with Honeybee Healthy mixed in with it. So we get that response, a positive response from the bees when they smell the Honeybee Healthy, they're coming out and their tongues are out. And again, that's on really hot days when you just can't imagine lighting a smoker anyway. And there's a lasting effect with the smoke. So in other words, there are reasons why we're avoiding using the smoke. If we have a colony that's manageable with something less, we definitely start with just water or light sugar syrup. The thing is with the guard bees, we could spritz them with the light sugar syrup and they become tasty to all the other bees. So that definitely occupies them right away. We can also get them away from the edges of the hive with that spritz of light sugar syrup. So watering them down, we use that for a lot of different reasons, but one of the big ones was that at Cornell, they did research on the long-term impact of smoking your bees. In other words, how long did the bees shut down production, or how long were the occupants of the hive suppressed by the smoke? And in some cases, it went as far as 24 hours. So we definitely didn't want to be putting a lot of smoke on the bees, but it often, so part of that lesson was let's keep it light, keep it brief, and only what you need to get your guard bees to back down and make your colony manageable. So some colonies did not respond well to sugar syrup. We also use that to suppress robbing. So we would spray the hive that was responsible for robbing with Honeybee Healthy and sugar syrup. So we use that to distract bees, something you could not do with smoke. So yeah, we've played with water, mixes of different essential oils and things like that. But we wanted to keep the smoke out of it as much as possible. And there's a long list of reasons why we didn't want to put the smoke in there. And there are people that say, that, yeah, they tried it, it just didn't work. Well, part of that's reading the bees and where you're spritzing it. And once they've had that experience, and it's a smell, it's not just sugar syrup, that's why we added essential oil, so they would recognize that scent and realize there was a reward coming. So, and again, everything in just small doses. But yeah, we've tried a lot of different stuff.
Yes, good, good. I think it's a good way to use molecule who are contained in flowers. I show this graphic. You can see the analyze of smoker, and you can see the analyze of molecule present in native formulation. We have only 3 molecules. Okay. When I try my research and development, for me, I ask me, some molecule present in flower can have an effect on human. For example, for calm human, it's okay. And maybe in my mind, I ask me, maybe some molecule contained in flower can have an effect on the bees for calm them. And I make some selection in my research and development, and I find effect on the bees, and I can calm the bees during the visit. And during my research and development, I found another important information. In Toulouse, in France, we have scientific center of research on bees, and we have a public scientific publication for a molecule who can keep calm bees and mask alarm pheromone on bees. It's very important. And we find another molecule can be have an appetitive compartment on bees. Appetitive compartment is when the bees smell this odor flavor. The bees go on honey for heat honey like a smoke. It's more easy to visit the hives. But I found the molecule, but I don't have the solution for transport the molecule to the bees. And during a party with some friends, a friend take his cigarette and he make a big cloud on the table. And I asked him, what is that? He explained to me, yes, I am a smoker. In cigarette, we have some components are very bad for health. And in e-cigarette, we have only, he need flavor, he need active molecule, nicotine, and texture with propylene glycol. For me, it's just okay. I say, thank you, my friend. I have a solution for transport by molecule. The technology is the same as e-cigarette, and I use propylene glycol is a biosourced base from corn. Okay, I use that, and I use just three molecules. One molecule for make a vapor, propylene glycol, and two active molecules. The first molecule is contained in lavender. Okay, and the second molecule is contained in rose. The first molecule can be keep calm the bees and mask alarm pheromone, and the second molecule make an appetitive reaction on bees. Maybe you have some question on this point?
I do not.
No? Okay. It's my research on native, and it's my target to develop a better formulation. But for use native, we need a materials. We need a tool. Yes. And Fabrice, I need your help for this. And just if you're okay, I need your help for just a short brainstorming for find the good word for present some items are very important on Apisolis.
Well, thank you. Well, I will try to do my best. So from what I have here from you, Damien, and the rest of what you're discussing. So if I resume, see like here the four points that you try to go to. The first part of the conversation is like what we're talking about the health of the beekeeper and the bees. That's correct, Damien? That's what we are talking about.
It's very
correct.
important.
Let me guess. Then we discussed about the how handy the tool is, because that's the tool, and of course I've got one behind me, and I've seen that it's easier to light it up, and that's okay, perfect for me. It doesn't take hours to light up any smokeless smoker. And also a part of the safety where I've listened carefully during the conversation as well is that there is also a I don't say like a it's tendency, but from the climate changes and everything. Well, we do have also like very strong regulations in France and in Europe regarding any kind of a fire camp, and when you go camping. I do some hiking, and wow, I go to the mountains. I'm not even allowed to even like start a lighter. So I have to carry with me a small bottle of gas, and I have to light it up, and that's how I just get warm during the night. And to make food, that's also quite very. I eat everything cold. So, and in France, I have to say, from a certain period now, they want to put like a strong regulations as well, so that it doesn't matter if it's like too hot or whatsoever. From that month until that month, there is no way you will be able to light up any kind of fire, not even the smokes. You can get even like a fine if they see you with smoking and just walking in the forest. And French are all smoking, as you probably know, so it gets very complicated. So there is this safety side, and well, of course, but from what I see as well as using a tool, because if you mentioned the word tool, why is also for me quite easy to fix. And so the question I have for you also, from what we've heard, is that what kind of words will you actually uh, put under these four icons that we see here? Um, from what it could be like the first one to go with the first example. Will you say that we do care? Is the word care or healthy will be a good word for you?
I think healthy is definitely a good word. If there's no impact, there are people that have asthma and other things that try to keep
Sure.
bees that can't manage a smoker. So it definitely makes a difference for them. So I would say a healthy alternative to smoke.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
I agree.
And well, we can say that also the tool is also safe, so there is no well, fire, there's no light. It's kind of safe, right? I think we
Yeah, and
all
the
agree with
reason I can say that safety plays a lot because I deal with kids,
that.
and I
True.
can hand this smoker to my 9-year-old
Yeah.
supervisor and turn him loose. I can't do that with a regular smoker because kids like to play with fire. I know that's shocking, but true. So there's definitely a safety aspect also when it comes to children or yeah, anybody you can't trust with fire.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Brian, when we talk about also the like how it is, I see that you showed to us that you said that you are using the Apisolis smoker, and it's kind of the tool that you're using all the time. So for you, do you find it like it's very handy for you, like to start it up and switch it off and
It is. It is, as far as the time, it makes the whole process for whatever task I have to do. If I have to go over just to, let's say I'm adding in pollen patties, and it should be a very fast, efficient process. If I had to mess with a traditional smoker, it adds that amount of time. With this, I just simply grab it. Now, I normally keep a bag where I have hive tools, my queen marking pens, anything like that. So I have that I set on a workbench and I set right next to it my Apisolis. So it just makes the whole process faster. I can go down through my colonies, and where I would maybe expect 10 minutes of work, if I had to use a traditional smoker, you're adding in 10 extra minutes.
yeah, understand.
This makes the whole entire process faster. So
Yeah.
for me, I've enjoyed just the efficiency of using this.
And to be transparent with us, when so you're using it like all the time, and did you have any problems like to replace anything? Maybe you broke something,
No,
or I mean it can fall on the floor, and of course everything can break. So
yeah. So and like you see, I mean, I have used this from the time the minute I received it, up until yesterday, I went out and I had just added some fondant onto my colonies. I have not used a traditional smoker ever since I got this. The only thing that I have had happen, and it was my own fault, I set it on my workbench and I knocked it off and I broke the spout.
okay,
So, but I ordered another one. Um, it was an easy fix. It was,
yeah,
uh, and I ordered an extra one just because I thought, well, if I broke it one time, I probably will do it again. So let me just have a backup. But, that was just my error. It has fallen. I will say, I have set it on top of colonies and I've bumped it and knocked it off. No problem at all.
Hmm.
But the time when I did break the spout on it, it fell on the concrete.
Yeah.
So
So you were anyway you were able to fix it yourself.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
it goes continuously. Yeah. If I say that the Apisolis is a sustainable product, you will agree with this?
I would. At my scale now, I'm just a hobbyist beekeeper. I've gone like right now I have 9 colonies. I've gone up to, I think the most amount of colonies that I've ever had was 21. And at that scale, I would say, yes, I would use this every single time I had to go out and work the colonies. It's just, for me, the ease of it, lighting it, it's just, you squeeze it 3 times and it turns on. So it's super easy to light, well, I mean, you're not even lighting it, you're turning it on.
Yeah.
And as far as turning it off, for me, I turn it off and then I have a case that I 3D printed for it. So it sits right on my workbench. I set it in there, plug it in, and it's ready to go the next time I go out and I, have to do any type of work in the apiary.
Yeah. And Fred, for you?
I can give you some feedback on your product. I've had it. This was my first full season that I've used it, and I would say I use it 80% of the time. The biggest feature that I like about it is the convenience of how easy it is to just grab it and go without having to light. I would say, in my opinion, it's probably 80% as effective as smoke is, as far as the effect that it has on the bees. And most of the time, that's sufficient for me and my hives. But sometimes during the summer dearth here in the hot south in August and September, the bees can get quite agitated and I will have to go back to smoke. But most of the time, I will just grab this and use it. I haven't had any problems with it, except I did have to replace the main motherboard in mine. It was not producing smoke, but it was under warranty and the company took care of it for me. But other than that, since then it's been working fine. But I think the biggest factor for me why I choose to grab it rather than a smoker is just the convenience of it. It's just so easy to do, and I don't really, when I'm working my bees, sometimes I'm squeezing, a short amount of I have a short amount of time to squeeze it in between other things in my life, and so I will, just grab it and do what I need to do. And so, yeah, I've been very pleased with it, and I know I will continue to use it, and hope that it will, like I said, I've only had it 1 year, but I hope it will last for quite a long time. I don't know if I'll ever use it 100%, but like I say, it is the first tool that I grab when I'm going to my hives most of the time.
So I'll say that when I have to go and attend to someone's out yard, if I'm just going in there real quick and coming back out, there are 2 reasons why I use it. One is I can throw it in my car, and if I forget, it turns itself off, which is also very important because I often forget and I just hear it beep when it turns itself off. So then I know. But I also like, this is different, but I like people seeing things they haven't seen before. So when I show up and I come out with that Apisolis vaporizer, they don't know what I'm doing. So I think it's a lot of fun. Plus, I can puff at the people if they annoy me and it doesn't hurt them. The other thing is, if you're doing a talk, if you're in a group and you're teaching about in a closed space in a classroom and you're trying to teach people how to use a smoker, I can break out the Apisolis and demonstrate it with that. And it's a wow factor for kids because they see it. It's real. You don't just pick up, your old smoker and pretend that there's smoke coming out. So for demonstration purposes, it illustrates using smoke really well. And I already mentioned that it's my grandson's. It's the one he's allowed to use. I like that the bees go back to work right away, so it doesn't have the same lasting impact on the bees that smoke does. I'm not going to say I use it 80% of the time because I have a habit of, I just light a smoker and it sits there and it's ready to go. I also line up smokers. So I have two smokers loaded, ready to light in case one went out. But with those pellets, I don't do that. But if I'm working small colonies, nucleus hives, things like that, I definitely use the small colonies all get the vaporizer rather than ignition smoke. So it has a lot of uses that are just fun to me. I mean, it's the very idea that you could pop something in front of your face and it doesn't. I think Brian did a video and he actually, I think you breathed that for about 20 minutes, didn't you, Brian? You just sat in front of your TV and you like it almost too much. It's a little bit of a concern. But overall, no, it's the convenience of it, the on-off as that was already described. My question is, if you're leaving it alone, mine kind of runs out on its own. Whatever's in the reservoir, the oil that I have left over, if I don't use it for a couple of weeks, it tends to evaporate on its own, or is it draining out? What's it doing? Like, where's it go? Or should it not leak out? Because right now my
Well,
reservoir is
because
empty.
Yes.
the way you actually use it, and I see why. Like you will actually you use it this way, but actually the way
Right.
when
You
you don't
store
use
it
it
like
afterwards,
this. Yeah.
that's how you should actually put it. And so that's to avoid that it leaks, and also that the liquid is touching the coil on itself here. And if you leave it this way as well, within 20 minutes, if you forget it, it will just switch off by itself.
Right.
There is why
Right.
there is the magnet. Well, it's true that
Right.
if you leave it like this, that's actually the active position, because
Right.
it's also
Yeah.
on you have the magnet side as well here that actually start the everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fred, I've never had that problem.
Okay.
I typically, when I finish, uh, the box that I have that I store mine in, it goes in so that the spout is actually on the top side, so
Yeah.
there is no leaking or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's a great unit, like Ray said, the convenience of it, it is super convenient. Um, Prior to my receiving the Apisolis, I was speaking at one of the local bee clubs just on innovation and some different items in beekeeping. And I did speak about this unit before I even had it. Just I was curious. Just really there's been no movement as far as a traditional bee smoker. It's just you put fuel in it, you light it. So when I saw this, I was curious. And I can honestly say, like Ray uses it about 80% of the time. Fred, he kind of teeters back and forth, but Fred is confused anyways. So, but I use this I can say 100% of the time. So I can't remember the last time I used a traditional smoker.
Very good.
Right. Thank you.
Very good. Apisolis, in this, we have no evolution in traditional smoker during a century. And for me, Apisolis, it's a first step stone for better bee smoker, smokeless. And it's not just an evolution, but it's a dynamic evolution of this tool. For me, it's very important. For example, I make some optimization during his life. For example, a contactor cut for a better, for make a better cloud on the bees. And it's important for me. It's a tool. Apisolis, it's a bridge between beekeepers and bees. And if I understand better the system communication of the bees, I can make a better formulation. I can adapt my formulation to the bees for more effect on the bees. And if I understand better your practice, I can make a better tool for you. I can make two evolution in one product.
I had emailed somebody from your company a while ago to ask if you were developing any other native solutions as alternatives to the one that you have now. Are you working on that?
Yes, I working on some evolution. I working on an evolution of native for more effect on the bees. Rapidly, they go in the hives, go out the head of the frame, okay? And the longer of effect. Sometimes if you have some bees, if the colony is so strong, the actually native can have some limit on strong colony. But with the new formulation, the effect is the first evaluation show the new formulation is 100% effective as a smoke. I am so excited to put this new evaluation on the market.
So what would you say your current native solution is compared to smoke in regard to effectiveness?
Okay, it's about 85%, right, Damien?
Yes. The native, the actually native is 85% effective as a smoke. But the future evaluation, my target is the same effect as a smoke.
Interesting. I was just guessing when I said it was 80% as effective, because that's just been my experience. And I didn't know, how are you qualifying that scientifically that that the current native is 85%? Is it just by observation, or are you qualifying that differently?
We work with for evaluation. I send my formulation to the laboratory, okay, and his job is to make an evaluation, some product for the bees, and he have some colony for test with a camera, and he analyze the movement of bees when he use a traditional smoke. Okay, it's a target, and he use another colony with another formulation, and we can analyze the movement of the bees. Okay, the delay of reaction and the delay when they go out of the head of the frame, and the delay when they return on the head of the frame.
Interesting. And then is your new formulation going to be similar in that it doesn't have anything toxic in it? It's still going to be naturally based?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Always, it's my target. Just safe molecule, and only molecule you can find in the nature, in the wood, in the grass, in vegetable.
Interesting.
Yeah. So instead of three bio-based molecules, so we'll have actually 4 in the new native.
When are you expecting the new native to be on the market?
I think for the spring.
Or spring here, spring, April.
I'll look forward to using it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you will see, Brian, if you smoke yourself in your house with it, you will see that you will get a new smell. So I do love actually the smell of the native V1. And some people inside of the company in France are just like, yeah, they have to get used to it. Actually, I do also like it, but it's completely different from the native 1 and the native 2. You can really smell the difference. So it's really like unbelievable.
Interesting.
Yep.
You know, I didn't stand in front of it as long as what Fred said, but I did when I gave a demonstration on this. I literally put it right in front of my face and squeezed it, and I was breathing just like normal, and it had no effect on my respirations. So as far as the health benefits, I would not do that with a traditional smoker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, but
that would be a nice video, to do.
yeah. I'll let Ray do that.
Yeah, right. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Glad you got my back. No, when I did my review of the Apisolis as well, I just blew it in my face as well on my YouTube channel, and I like the smell of it as well. When the kids come over or whatever, they always say, "Oh, I want to smell this. I want to smell the smoke." So it is nice to know, that it's safe. And I was really concerned that in order to make it more effective, you were going to maybe not be able to make it as safe. And so I was glad to hear that you're going to try to continue to keep that as a priority.
Yeah.
I can say, based on feedback that I get, that if it becomes as effective as smoke, you're going to get a lot more customers, because what people hear first, they spread fast. And one of the first things I heard was, doesn't work on defensive hives. So now they all parrot that to everybody else. Does it work on defensive hives? Well, then what's the point from a lot of beekeepers' perspective, where if it's as effective as smoke, you're going to see a big shift in the number of people interested in having them. Another aspect of this is that when we look at honey contaminants and things that change the flavor of honey, the floral aspects of honey, the number one particulate found in all honey is from the smokers. So it's soot that beekeepers are using. We've all seen beekeepers pull a honey super and just blanket it with smoke. These particulates are being introduced into the honey, and it's one of the, as I just said, it's the number one contaminant. So what people are using for smoke or fuel does end up in their honey. So the people that are, who knows, they're just grabbing burlap and things like that. And studies have been done on defensive responses to these different smoke or fuels. And it's very interesting to read about what the responses of the bees is. But people should know they are introducing foreign material into the hive and the honey. And it's not just because, once honey's capped, they think, well, then that's protected honey, but it isn't, because it's on the surface. These particulates are all over. And when we're doing uncapping and everything, we're reintroducing whatever is on the surface of the capped wax. So there are a lot of reasons why, as I said, if it becomes equal in response to calming bees, then you're going to see an upsurge in interest in this particular system.
Yeah.
I agree. I hadn't really heard people talking about that with defensive hives, but that has been my experience as well. And that most of the time it's fine, but it's not. One other thing I wanted to ask you about in regard to the smoker, and maybe get the panel's feedback on it, is the volume of smoke per puff and the velocity in which it goes. That seems to be just a little bit less than I get out of my smoker. And so sometimes if I have a defensive hive and I need to give that initial puff when I take that top lid off or the inner cover off to get it all the way to permeate that top layer of bees, sometimes I find that it's not sufficient. And if you get behind that on a defensive hive, it can be a concern. Do you guys have the same experience in regard to wishing it just had a little bit more volume or a little bit more velocity?
I did find that you have to use it differently than a traditional smoker. When you're puffing that bellow, with a traditional smoker, you're very fast. With this, I've learned that it's more of, at least just the method that I use this, it's more of a controlled, like a sustained puff.
Yes, perfect.
And that's what typically works for me. When I approach my colonies now, I typically work them from the back, but the first thing that I'll do is I just have one sustained puff across the front, and then typically it's 3 or 4 across the top when I open it, and that typically works for me. But it is, Ray, it's a little bit different just because you can't use it like a typical smoker, you're just going to sit like that. You don't want to do that. I found that just somewhat of a sustained puff, and that's what has worked.
Yeah, I think I was referring more to, like, if there's a breeze outside, it's like sometimes there's not enough velocity to really direct the puff where it needs to go before the wind carries it in another direction, at least in my experience. But I do know what you're saying about the slow, controlled puff. And there are some times too that I find even just little tiny puffs seem to produce more smoke than just one fast puff on it. But just sometimes I just wish I could just have a little bit more velocity so that I could really control where it went. I find that I have to sometimes put it up pretty close to the frames of the bees in order to get it, if there's a breeze outside, like I have to get it in there pretty close. So I don't know if it was just me and my experience. So I was just curious what your experiences were on that, if I was doing something wrong.
I have a question while I'm looking at this. This is the diameter of a smoothie straw. So is it against the rules to put an extension in smoothie straw, stick it in there, and if it holds its position, to really key the points where you're trying to introduce it? Because that works on its own. Is that a bad idea, by the way, or is that okay?
It's a great idea. We can develop some extension of the tank for more directly on the hives. Yes, yes.
Have you tried that, Ray? You put a straw
No,
in
but
there?
it really, Fred, that really is interesting to me. That's something that
Hmm.
I will experiment with because I feel like just a short extension or something like that may be helpful for that.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a good
Maybe,
idea.
excuse me, maybe you have a 3D printer? 3D printer?
Brian does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian, make us all
Come on,
extension
Brian.
straws, Brian. Come on, it's Christmas.
I
I have
think
4.
it's on Cult 3D. You know this website Cult 3D? Cult 3D. Cult 3D for find some 3D modelization.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Thingiverse.
Oh, Thingiverse. Yep. Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Thingiverse.
Yeah.
I have put on this website just a model for an extension of a tank for more for have a better direction of the smoke.
Okay.
Okay, I send you a link of this, and you can print this accessory. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
Excellent.
I'd like to just give you a couple of other experiences I had with this, if you choose to make another version down the road of some things that I would think would make it move from a good product to a great product. One of them would be a replaceable battery, because when you're out in the field and you run out of battery, now what do? You're stuck, right? So now you got to go back and get a traditional smoker if you still have a significant amount of work. So a battery pack that can be removed and charged outside of the unit or inside of the unit I think would be wonderful. Another suggestion that I have is I find that when I'm using the smoker and I'm setting it down, that it's not stable, and that I often have to put it on, make this a third point, kind of like a tricycle, and it falls on the ground all the time. It actually drives me a little crazy. I wish this was bigger or flatter, and so that it had a more stable base, so that it wasn't falling over all of the time onto the ground. And that's another suggestion. And personally, I would love to just see an on-off button as opposed to the 3 puffs. I just feel like it would be a lot more convenient to just be able to just press a button and have it turn on, as opposed to having to go through that. Because sometimes if you don't squeeze it all the way, the connection isn't made there with that magnet or whatever's in there, and so then you're just like, okay, how many puffs am I in? I would love to just have an on-off button. So just not a criticism, just some feedback. I use it pretty regularly just to give you some thoughts on some things that I would love to see happen in another version.
Yeah, so Ray, you hit on the exact same thing I was going to mention too about the on-off switch. The 3 puffs works, but when I first got my unit, it didn't. I had to open it up and change the position of that magnet exactly so that it would work. But the other thing about when you're using it and you've got it like this, where do you put it? Other people gave me feedback that it fell forward and lifted this up.
It does.
So when it hit on things. So what I personally would like this Christmas is a hook on the back of it, so I can just put this on my belt or hook it on the end of a pocket while it's in the in-service position, so that I'd like to be able to just hang it on my tool belt. And right now we don't have, we could make one and put it on ourselves, but I like that idea. And you could even, yeah, that's for me, because we know that this is a storage position. It's the only way it's going to sit up on its own. But while it's in use and we keep it active, having a hook would be a huge advantage.
Or even could be hooked on the side of the hive as well, if that worked as well. So Brian could probably 3D print that for us for Christmas. You have a couple weeks.
Add that to the list, Brian. Have it by North American Honeybee Expo. We'll be looking for you.
Excellent.
I can print it some spare parts for you and this evolution for you. Yes, I bring it to the NHB. I know it's not the traditional utilization, but when you put your Apisolis, you can put on the side here. I say in this position it's not very easy, but you can put on this position.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I'll just say that I like to have it on me. I don't want to have to run and grab it off of something. When I'm going hive to hive, I want it hanging on my utility belt.
you
Fred, I
have
will make you a hook.
yes.
Okay, Brian, you guys heard it. Ray, you're my
I heard
witness.
it.
Okay.
I'm your witness. I got your back, Fred.
Okay.
You have already to start to make an answer at this question. For you, the perfect bee smoker, what you say when you imagine the perfect bee smoker for you?
They kind of taken what you've developed and tried to give my feedback on what would make it closer to perfect. I just think the things that I'd like to see is a little bit more effectiveness with the bees, the velocity, the stability, but other than that, I really think you're onto something. Like I say, I grab it first. Unless I know I need a bee smoker, I will just use it. And so I'm been pleased that I'm a regular user of it, but I'm pretty much already given you all of my thoughts on suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Ray said, I think with just a couple uh minor tweaks, so to say, this right here is, I think it's a move in the right direction. I personally, I really have enjoyed having the Apisolis smoker. It's at least for the size of my operation, it's worked really well. Um, I don't how my apiary is set up. Each of my colonies is roughly 2 to 3 feet apart. So usually what I do is when I'm working them, I set it on the very next colony. So it's always within an arm's reach. My colonies are not that far apart, so I don't have that problem. But it's, like I said, I'm a fan of it. So
And you, Frederick, what's your best tool for Visit Hive?
My best tool? We're still asking about this, right? Smokers? Or are we asking other tools now? But no, I
Yeah.
mean, Ray's hit on some good points. I agree with everything he said. I do have a question about Ray, you said your battery dies out. You wish you could swap out the battery. How many hours do you get out of it?
Okay.
Well, I don't know because you're assuming that I responsibly charge it when I'm done, which is not the case, right? So I'll use it one day for a while, and then 3 days later I'll pick it up and use it for a while, and it might be a week before I charge it, and I'm not really keeping track, right? So it catches me by surprise sometimes because I'm not necessarily always plugging it in. But if I had an extra battery, I would keep that charged and I really wouldn't worry about it. I would just keep it in my tool belt. So I don't really have any information about how long the battery lasts personally.
So, Brian, how many hours you get out of it?
I've never had an issue where it has run out of a charge. I have a 3D printed box that I keep it in, and it's just been, I guess I'm a creature of habit in that when I finish and I hang up my jacket, I set this in the case and I have the plug right there and I just plug it in. So I've never run into a situation where it's run out of a charge.
Hmm. So that's a good question for the Apisolis team. How often should we be recharging this? Like every day, or does the battery have memory, or what should we be doing?
Yes, when you have finished your visit, it's better if you research you research, excuse me, after the visit, after whole visit, your Apisolis. And during the winter, sometimes, if you don't use your smoker, recharge your smoker for a better battery.
Yeah,
So
what I said
that's a good question too. While it's on storage, every 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, should it be
well,
charged?
yes, I'm going to give you an answer because I'm a scuba diver and I'm also taking underwater photography. So I've got a lot of batteries. First of all, is that also the battery when it's new, it needs to be charged like completely full and never let it run down. And for all batteries that I'm using, and the one that are inside are in the Apisolis or the 18850, which is pretty standard also in my diving industry. So most of the time I will charge it every 2 months, and also I will store them like when it's not too cold. So sometimes in my garage could be a bit too cold, and it's not really that good for the batteries. But every 2 months I recharge fully my batteries. So I've got like a ramp, and I load everything. So
Okay.
So this is really on topic. Have you been to the Cousteau Museum there in France?
of
Jacques
course,
Cousteau?
yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm a diving instructor. Yeah,
Yeah, that's my background. So deep sea
cool.
research and development in the Navy. So yeah,
Okay, cool, excellent. Well,
yeah,
we
I
will
love that
discuss about
museum.
diving at the Oni the Honeybee
Yeah,
Expo, because
yeah, I've enjoyed
I
that.
do as well. I'm a cave diver, and I also work with the underwater firemen in France to help people that have accidents underwater. So
Oh, I thought you were putting out underwater fires. Okay.
no, no, no. I'm just putting out people. That's it. Unfortunately,
Okay, great.
no,
Sorry for that interruption.
no, it's fine.
Thank you. It's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for your feedback. It's very important for me. And now I give all feedback, and I work very strong with the team of Apisolis. Melanie work with me. It's very important. Fabrice and Ocean and Hive. We get the feedback. We work very strong, and be alert. We have some great information in few months for you. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
Yep. Thank you
Okay,
for having
thank
us.
you all
Thank you.
for being here today with us. So what I said is that I will be very happy to meet you all in Tennessee, and exchanging more with you. And probably we have good news coming up because we
Excellent.
listen to you all. So and we know what we have to do, and it's on the good track.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Frederick. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
Thank you
pleasure.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.